opponents of President Obama have seized upon the release of an American prisoner of war, that's what he was, using what should be a moment of unity and celebration of our nation as a chance to play political games. The safe return of American soldiers should not be used for political points.
Welcome back to Harbor. That's, of course, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid today on the Senate floor criticizing what he calls the political games being launched over Sergeant Bo Bergdahl's release. While there are legitimate questions, I believe, to ask about the president's handling of the prisoner swap, we want to stick to the main issue here. Was the Obama administration right to release 5 Taliban prisoners in exchange for an American soldier who it appears walked off his post? Joining me right now is U.S. Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee. She's a Republican. And Michael Tomasky is a special correspondent for the Daily Beast. Let me start with the Congresswoman. Your views about how you would have handled it differently, what your main critique is here of the president's decision. He made it. What's your critique?
He did make it, and I think that this is like so many decisions that they make, you know, that they seem to make mistakes in their information. It leads to illogical conclusions. The 30 days, why they didn't come back to Congress and provide that information, this is something that Congress has put in place because there had been questions about detainees. And, Chris, why he did not do that is causing great concern. And then also, as you said, the 5 masterminds that were sent back to Qatar, that you don't know if they're going to be active in planning actions against our troops, our men and women in the field. I have a major military post in my district.
I understand.
This has caused great concern.
Well, let's get back to those 2 questions. Was the 30-day requirement, the president signed it? He agreed to it. It's part of the law of the land. He broke the law. He may even admit so. He'll also go back to Article 2 of the Constitution, which makes him Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. The second question, do you think it's reasonable to assume that these 5 characters, we see pictures of them, Taliban guys, are not going back to fight the war?
First question, that's troubling, the question about the law. There's no doubt about that. Now, you might say that the spirit of that law is so that he wouldn't empty Guantanamo. That's really why they passed that law, so he wouldn't empty Guantanamo in 1 or 2 fell swoops. And he's not doing that. This is just 5 guys. There's still 100 and something guys there. So, and then there's the constitutional question that you address.
What about going back to fight the war against
these 5 guys? We have some statistics about this, Chris. People have studied the recidivism rates of people who've gone back there.
But they fought to get these guys back. They asked for this 5.
I know that. But
they're not just back in the fighting. They negotiated to get. Look at them hugging. They got these 5. This is the former chief of staff of the Army, the former deputy.
I understand that. Look, they're dangerous guys. They're dangerous guys. There's always a risk. But look, the Bush administration sent back more than 500 guys. Obama has only sent back about 80. So the Bush administration sent back far more guys and with far looser standards. Now, you know, I don't know what these guys are going to do. Nobody knows what these guys are going to do. But recidivism rates are actually very low.
Let me get back to the Congresswoman.
Well,
let me ask you this. I want to get back to, look, I have to go back and forth here in a reasonable way. We're going to get into one of those stupid cable fights. I'm not doing that tonight.
Right.
Let me ask you another question. If you could have gotten a better deal to get Bergdahl back, what would it have been? I mean, you got to think 5, 4, 3, none. What would you have given the Taliban to get the American servicemen back, or would you give them nothing?
Well, that is a question, a hypothetical that you really can't answer.
No, it's the question the president had to answer himself. He was asked, what price will you pay?
Chris,
what price would you pay?
The deal that he took, you had Panetta and Clinton and others that had already said, do not do this.
We said that on the show.
It was not a good deal. I don't know. You never know what you're going to do in a given situation. You do know that 5 for 1 and what we have learned causes tremendous concern. What we also know
you got to help me here.
Chris,
there has to be a counter position here.
Just a second.
What's your position that we should have done?
What we should do is be more judicious in how we're looking at these detainees. Last week, I had a bill on the floor that would have closed the Thompson facility in Illinois to keep those detainees from coming to the U.S. The president has decided he is going to empty Guantanamo Bay, sending these individuals
what price
to the
would
fight.
you have paid? You've got to help me on this, Congressman. You've always been a good guest. It's a tough but nasty question. What price would you, as a member of Congress, pay if someone had asked you beforehand, how far are you willing to go to get this American back? How far would you have gone? That's the question the president had to answer.
what I will do is look at the classified file and the information that we will have access to now, and then be able to make that decision. See, what you have to realize, the president broke the law. Congress was not informed.
Okay.
We are not privy to what is in that classified file on Sergeant Bergdahl. That is something that our committees, our intel committees, have returned to D.C. There are going to be hearings on this. What we need to do is approach this in a very thoughtful and thorough manner, a much different manner than the president has done.
Okay, let me give you a little backdrop. I'm a bit older than you, Congresswoman, and I have lived in this city a long time. For good or evil, I've been here. And every year they have the MIA guys come to town, usually with the ponytails and the motorbikes. And they're still talking about MIAs. They're talking about people we left behind. So let me just try this by you, Michael, first. Suppose we'd left this guy behind. We said, no deal, this deal sucks. That guy sits over there and rots over there. He looks really skinny in these pictures, but he's going to rot because we ain't going to give any of these guys away. Right. What would have been the attitude of the far right? And I'm talking about not just the far right, the really angry right in this country. If we had deliberately turned down a deal and left that guy over there. I'm just asking.
You and I both know what they would have done.
These guys are still mad about MIAs.
Yeah, of course, but they would have exploded.
Vietnam.
The far right would have exploded on Obama if that guy was left over there. If he died over there, God forbid, the far right would have exploded on Obama for that. Weak president, unconscionable, this, that. You know that they would have done all of those things.
Let's ask the congressman, what would have been the reaction if the president had said, kibosh this deal, it's too dirty, I'm not giving away 5 bad guys to get one American of questionable loyalty even, certainly questionable service. What would you have said to that? Would you have said that was a smart move on his part if he had said no to this deal?
You never leave a man behind. That is why we're all so concerned about what happened in Benghazi. And what you have to do is have consistency, and this administration has no consistency. Now you're asking for
you said you wouldn't have left them behind, then go back to the question of what price would you have paid.
You don't know till you look at that file.
But you just told me you wouldn't have left them behind. So the president, in the first instance, was doing the right thing, getting them back. So the price was wrong. What was wrong about the price? If you said the deal was good from our end, we got the guy back. The other end of the deal you don't like, how would you have changed the other end of the deal? That's all you have to know. The other end of the deal, because you already know about Bergdahl. You said one back. Irrespective of the paperwork, you said you don't have to look at the paperwork. You said we got to get the guy back. Okay, what's the second end of the deal look like?
That is not what I said. I said you never leave a man behind. You never leave a man behind, and that is what has people upset about Benghazi. We all know that.
No, wait a minute. You left them behind.
They want to get to the answers
I know you want to change the subject of Benghazi.
I
know you do.
Now,
I know you do. I know. You know I'm not going to do this. I'll have you back to talk about Benghazi. We talk about it all the time around here, but not right now. We want to talk about Bergdahl. You said it was important not to leave that man behind. What would you have done to keep him, to get him back to the States?
These are the questions that you don't know because you don't have the classified information.
But you said you knew you were going to do
it.
You said there was a principle involved. We have to bring him back.
To go in here and let go of 5 people that is their dream team.
Okay, I agree. I have these questions too.
That they personally asked for. You have
but
to
I'm not elected. You are.
Why do that?
She's not going to
why say that it has to be done immediately? And why say that you can't wait until this is fully vetted and Congress is informed? Why did they have to do it in this time frame? We know the president broke the law. Why did he choose to break it?
Can we stop for a second? I'm sorry, Congresswoman.
Sure.
I want to get back to Mike here. It seems that there's a lot of agreement. I think the Congresswoman speaks for a lot of people. The important, and you hear this from right, left, and center, if there is a center left. We got to get the guy home. Find some way to do it. And the question is over the terms of the trade. It was get him home. Nobody's saying leave the guy over there to rot. In fact, when we saw those earlier pictures, he looked like he was in really bad shape. So the information they had was, you know, get him home fast. There is a quick window here. The question's over the deal on the other side. What's going to be the thing we're arguing about 3 months from now? I think it's the other side. I think we're not going to be arguing about Bergdahl. Everybody's going to say we should have got him back. But that's easy to say if you don't say what the price. Everybody wants a new Cadillac. Well, if it's $5, we'll take it. If it's $50,000, I don't know.
Bergdahl's going to go through a process. Bergdahl's going to come back. He's going to speak his piece. He's going to apparently go through the military court system, and they're going to determine whether he was a deserter or not a deserter, and that's going to happen. That may take 3 months.
Will that help us understand this deal better?
I probably will. His side.
You think that information is important to know, Congresswoman, whether he was a good soldier or not? Why was it important to know?
I think that is very important to know, and I think the fact that the people that served with him, his unit, are now coming out and speaking, that all of this is beginning to cause so many questions, and it is causing the White House some problems, and those are the things...
What would you have done? What would you do? Did you say this was a worse deal if he turned out not to be a good soldier? Or doesn't it matter? We still have to bring him back.
The inconsistency is one of the things that is troubling to everybody. You don't leave people behind. We all know that. He should go through the appropriate system, and if
no, but I'm asking you a question. Does it matter whether he's a bad? You raised the
military
issue.
Courts, they will do that.
Suppose it turns out that he was a deserter. Was it right to bring him back at the price we paid? If he was a deserter, we should have left him there?
This is, once all of the due diligence is done, things that should have been done on the front end, we will know the answer to that.
No, but should we have let him go, sit there if he was the deserter?
We will know the answers to that once we go through the appropriate process.
I just want to ask you the question. Should we leave him there? Should we have left him there? If he was, because you said it matters what his fellow platoon members thought of him. Why does it matter?
I think that what we want to...
Why does it matter? You said you want to know what his fellow platoon members, you want an investigation. Why does it matter whether he's a bad guy or good guy if he's an American and we got to bring him back?
If he needs to face justice in the appropriate system, he will do that. I think that it's important to note that you do bring people home. Our military men and women are, you know, they're so upset about this because you look at the 5 that were released, and Chris, you have to ask, how many people lost their lives or their loved ones in fighting in battles that were instigated by these 5? How many lives did we lose there?
So you're raising a question I hope you can answer.
We hope for those answers too, and then I'll be able, once we have those and have been able to see those files and have been properly informed, then I'll be able to answer some of the questions that you have about this. I appreciate your attention to it.
No, thank you. There's so much conflict here. I want to end with this. People say there's a principal involved, we got to bring it back, but then we want to know whether he's a good soldier or not. We want investigations. You don't need an investigation if you've decided we're going to bring him home.
You absolutely bring him back.
We're talking about the President of the United States decision. Anyway, thank you, U.S. Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn. By the way, the U.S. military decide on this guy's fate. They got to decide. Michael Tomasky, not a Congress committee. Thank you, Michael Tomasky of Daily Beast. We'll be right back after this.